Alright, guys, welcome to Flav Oriana's MMA show. I'm your host, Flav Oriana, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. Alright, guys, so last week Dana White did announce a huge announcement. He actually made a huge, he said on, on all live streaming social media accounts that he was going to have some major announcement. And I get the notification. I'm like, what is this? It's going to be Conor. Is this going to be about The Ultimate Fighter, which I barely seen anything. I mean, I probably watched like 3 or 4 episodes of the Brian Ortega one. I didn't bother watching of this past season, although I kind of did forget who was part of Tough for this past season. But that's to tell you how much I care about Tough. Anyways, so I'm thinking, I'm like, what is it going to be? Is it going to be somebody losing their title? Because I thought it was going to be maybe like something like Aljamain Sterling is going to be put on ice, and it was going to be like Henry Cejudo versus Sugar Sean O'Malley for the interim belt or something like that, or Conor McGregor, something drastic enough for Dana to put that out there, or what's it called? The April card was going to be in Madison Square Garden, and they were going to announce the full fight card and stuff like that. Got none of that. None of that. Although we did get news for the April card, and I'll get there in just a second. So, Dana did announce everything that we needed to know about the perf card, which was settled. All right. Said that John Jones and Cyril Gahn is official. We already know about that. Did confirm that Valentina Shevchenko is fighting Alexa Grasso. Now, normally I would make a full video about this, but Valentina last time she fought against Tyler Santos. Believe that was June, if I'm not mistaken. Taking a lot of time off, and many people believe that Tyler Santos won. I am one of those that believe Valentina won. Not that I'm a homer or anything like that. I just felt that Valentina did enough in the later rounds to solidify herself as the winner of that matchup. All right, Alexa Grasso getting her first title shot. Be very, very interesting to see what she has for the champ. My opinion right now, if I was a betting man, in which I partially am, I would tell you to bet Shevchenko. Reason being, I just think that Grasso doesn't show that much near of a threat for Valentina Shevchenko as opposed to somebody who is a grappler. I think Shevchenko struggled a little bit with grappling, but we've seen it in the past that she was able to overcome that. But I think as a striker, she's going to just pick you apart from the outside, and it's just easy money from there. Dana did also announce everything that we need to know about the London card. Yes, Leon and Usman Part 3, the trilogy. Co-main event is Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev, or Fiziev. I don't know how they want to pronounce it. Did announce for the March 4th card, I forgot to mention Dan Hooker. Yes, Dan Hooker is fighting Jalen Turner, which that is a banger, guys. I mean, a lot of casuals don't even know who Jalen Turner is, but they will know on that main card. I will tell you that this guy's a problem at 155 pounds, and I believe that his main future is at 170 pounds. But for the big news that was put out there, Dana White announces the confirmation that Alex Pereira has an opponent for middleweight, and it is Israel Adesanya. All right, they're going to be fighting for the rematch. All right, I understand they fought 2 different times in kickboxing, but it is part 2 in mixed martial arts, part 2 in the UFC, and I definitely do believe that this is a good, worthy main event. The location is still undetermined. I mean, UFC Australia, New Zealand did leak something out saying that the fight was going to be in Miami. If that is the case, that makes tons of sense because there's tons of MMA camps in Miami. You have Killcliff, which used to be Stanford MMA. You have American Top Team there. You have tons and tons of different MMA gyms and camps over there. But the co-main event on that card is Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. Now, if you ask me, that card is looking a little bit spicy in my opinion, just because there's a lot of questions on that card for April 8th. All right. One, where is it going to be located at? Is it going to be in Miami? Is it going to be in Brooklyn? Which that was where a lot of people were speculating. The UFC had narrowed it down between Brooklyn and Miami, and then a third party showed up, and that was MSG. All right, and there's still a player in this contention on where is the April 8th card going to be located at. Okay. Dana White did also announce that Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio is going to be on that card. I'm very surprised that Kevin Holland is coming back this early. I mean, he did break his hand in December against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Good matchup. It's a well-worthy matchup to put. I imagine that might have to be the feature bout, if not the main card opener. As for, like I was saying before, I definitely have a lot of questions as for this April 8th card. Where is the fight going to be located? That is number one. Number two, as for the main event, I do want to know this. What adjustments is Israel Adesanya going to be able to do against Alex Pereira? I really do believe in the aspect that sometimes there is somebody that just has your number. All right, Alex Pereira in kickboxing won a decision over Israel Adesanya. Whether you feel that Adesanya won or not, bottom line is Pereira did get a decision over Adesanya. And then in the second time they fought, Pereira ended up knocking out Israel Adesanya out cold in the middle of the ring. All right, and then in their one meeting in the octagon, Adesanya was winning. I mean, I had him winning 3 rounds to 1 in the 5th round. He was gonna retain his title. All right. Pereira does find a way to come back and put Adesanya against the cage and just starts clubbing, hitting uppercuts, and putting Adesanya into the ground. And as in a rare sighting that we've never seen before. Look, Adesanya has lost before, and he has lost to Jan Blachowicz, right? And that was when he was moving up to light heavyweight, and he was significantly overmatched in height and in weight. Well, not so much in height, but more in weight than anything else. I believe Jan Blachowicz weighed 30 pounds heavier on fight night than Israel Adesanya. All right, I believe that maybe this time around it could be different, but I just don't see how there is an avenue for Israel Adesanya to win. Yes, even though he was winning, I'm a really big believer of the fact that once you get knocked out and you keep on losing to the same person, I just think that it is a huge mind game. And I don't know, maybe I could be wrong. Adesanya could find different avenues and to try to exploit the weaknesses of Alex Pereira. He was winning, I think, the 3rd round when he ended up grappling, all right? And he had Alex Pereira on the floor, unable to get up by wrist control. So if Adesanya wants to use a little bit more wrestling, that'll be something that I even believe that Alex Pereira isn't really prepared for, okay? Even though with the training that he has from Glover Teixeira, I believe that Alex Pereira is going to end up winning this matchup. I believe Alex Pereira is going to replicate something of the same strategy, same game plan that he implicated against Israel Adesanya. I think they'll be a little bit more prepared for potential wrestling and takedowns, all right, and clinch work. I just think that the cardio, the gas tank of Alex Pereira, I think Alex Pereira is, even though he's very raw in mixed martial arts, he constantly keeps on getting better. And I think the longer the more he keeps on getting better, the more he keeps on training with somebody like a Glover Teixeira, the better he's going to get, and the harder it is going to be for somebody to take away that title. All right, I think Israel Adesanya is the best opportunity for him. Was to get him in that first try. I think going into the second fight, I think he's going to be a whole lot better. I did want to say something that, Alex Pereira might be the hardest hitting 185er in the world. All right, there was a clip that I did see on Twitter. This was his second fight that he in the UFC, in which he ended up facing Bruno Silva. Okay, Bruno Silva went all 3 rounds with Alex Pereira. All right, and in his very next fight, Bruno Silva, the man gets knocked out instantly. Right? Why is that? Bruno Silva took so much body damage, so much punches to the body and the face. All right. In those 3 rounds, that one can only imagine is that Bruno Silva did not fully recover from the torment that Alex Pereira ended up imploding towards him. I do believe that could be a factor in this matchup. I think Alex Pereira is the hardest hitting 185er in this division. I think that when he hits you, it hurts. I've seen in previous fights of Israel Adesanya that when Adesanya gets clipped, all right, and gets hit, he doesn't like it, and he's gonna try to maneuver his way around. Rewatch that Kelvin Gastelum fight. You will see Adesanya acting very uncharacteristically in that fight. Yes, that was one big blunder, all right. And we've seen him in previous fights where he just styles on people, all right. You know more about somebody in your losses as opposed to your wins. And we will find out what Israel Adesanya is made of coming into April 8th. Now, going into the co-main event, Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. That is a very, very important fight with a lot of stakes in it, okay? Gilbert Burns, if he wins this fight against Jorge Masvidal, he more than likely will get a title shot. Reason being, Colby Covington has been stagnant. He hasn't said anything since since him trying to sue Jorge Masvidal. All right, I know the felony charges that have been implied on Jorge Masvidal. Okay, he has been stagnant. He hasn't said anything whatsoever. So I truly do believe the absence of Colby Covington is hurting his chances of potentially getting a title shot. I think he's just holding out to see what's going to happen between the winner between Usman versus Leon Edwards in the trilogy matchup, but I just think that his inactivity is going to disengage him from getting a title shot. I think Gilbert Burns beating somebody of the likes of a Jorge Masvidal is something very, very crucial. Okay, I firmly do believe that if Gilbert Burns is able to defeat him, 1 second, guys. I firmly do believe that if Gilbert Burns is able to beat Jorge Masvidal, but it has to be in a particular fashion. All right, it can't be in the manner of how he defeated Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Reason why I say that, if you look back on that fight, I felt like that definitely hurt Gilbert Burns' chances of escalating himself, expediting himself into a title shot. All right, if he is gonna have to beat Jorge Masvidal, he is gonna have to beat him on the feet. All right, I know he can beat him on the ground, but he's gonna have to leave a message similar to the way that Kamaru Usman did against Jorge Masvidal. As for Jorge Masvidal, if he wins, regardless how he wins, it could even be by submission. All right, if he defeats Gilbert Burns, we know he is automatically getting a title shot. Reason being for that, it is not a meritocracy with the UFC. It is about who's going to be able to sell the most pay-per-views. All right, and Jorge Masvidal is a name that a lot of people even know. All right, your mom, your grandmas, whoever, whatever. All right, they all have seen that flying knee that he ended up imploding on Ben Askren. All right, and Jorge Masvidal, with his performances that he had in 2019, it still lingers as to him having a big enough face, all right? And they can sell that story, especially if Leon Edwards does win. If Leon Edwards does defeat Kamaru Usman and Masvidal does defeat Gilbert Burns, that settles for a perfect recipe for them to implode that three-piece Minnesota backstory on how that's 4 years in the making, and they can have that as a storyline for when they face one another. All right, Jorge Masvidal does need to win because it's now or never. If he doesn't defeat Gilbert Burns, I don't know what is left for him at the welterweight division. I definitely do believe that Masvidal does have a puncher's chance. I mean, Masvidal can knock anybody out if needed. All right. And we've seen him in the past before. We've seen him knock guys out cold. All right. We've seen him do it against Darren Till. We've seen him do it against Ben Askren. We've seen him piece up Nate Diaz. All right. He has it in him. Question is, will he be able to get it done? I don't like his chances. All right. But anything is possible in MMA. Anything is possible. And I think if Masvidal is able to connect that right hook at the right moment, all right, he can possibly get Gilbert Burns down. The only thing is, hopefully his ego doesn't get in the way where he shoots, he falls for the trap of Burns being on the floor, and him getting himself in a position where he doesn't want to be. But guys, that's all I wanted to say. Adesanya versus Pereira. Pereira versus Adesanya, part 2. Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal in the co-main event spot. It is not for the BMF title. It is not 5 rounds. It is 3 rounds. Just wanted to state that. But some big news in UFC. Crazy first quarter with a bunch of announcements that ended up implying. Until then, guys, I am Flav Oriana. Thank you for tuning in to Flav Oriana's MMA show, and I will see you guys next time. Peace, guys. Have a good one. See ya.